Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Uncover Lake Norman, where we reveal the exceptional people and places that make the Lake Norman area an incredible place to live. I'm Brian Lawson, the host and creator of Uncover Lake Norman and a realtor with the LePage Johnson Realty team, which is highly respected in the Lake Norman Charlotte area, as well as a high-level multi-million-dollar producer. So, if you're relocating to the Lake Norman area, my team and I would be honored to serve you in any capacity that you may need. I can be reached at brian@uncoverlakenorman.com. That's Brian with a Y at uncoverlakenorman.com. Hello guys, I'm Brian Lawson and welcome to Uncover Lake Norman. And today I am with Jackie Benjamin. And Jackie has always had a passion for helping women, but wasn't sure how to marry that with being in business. Which is interesting, and we're going to dive more into. So Jackie spent 5 years working at Torrent Consulting and saw it grow from 10 to 100 plus people in the company. While at Torrent, she learned what it looks like to be a purpose-driven company. And while working for a small business, she saw how many hours the owner spent on tasks that could be done by someone else, and knew by starting a virtual assistant company, she could provide sustainable employment and skills for women. Jackie was originally from Syracuse, New York. She now lives in Huntersville, North Carolina with her and her husband, 2 dogs, and has been a resident in North Carolina for the past 22 years. So, Jackie, as I read your bio, I get excited. Because I think there's so much in that bio that I kind of want to go back up to the top and kind of break that down a little bit, piece by piece, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that sounds good. And I've got 2 kids. I didn't know if I left that out or not, the bio. Hopefully I did.
If I didn't say that, that, yeah, it's there. You got 2 kids.
Okay, yeah. I don't want to
and 2 dogs,
leave that out.
2 dogs and 2 kids.
And
there we go.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so yeah, let's go back to the beginning. Absolutely.
So it first starts out that it says that you've always had a passion for helping women. Tell me how that kind of developed.
Yeah, so it's interesting you asked me that question, because I think I realized how this developed as I was coming up with the idea for this company, because I really hadn't thought of the why before for that. I just always knew I was involved in female-led or the purpose of helping women type charities and events, and just was always drawn to that thing. So that type of thing. So when I really started talking more with a person who was kind of advising me on this business and what the ideas were behind it, what I realized is that when I was young, 4 or 5, my parents got divorced. My mom had a part-time job at a preschool. My dad was the primary breadwinner, and he didn't leave us destitute. We weren't, eating hot dogs for every single meal, by any means. But as a child at that age, my first thought was, how are we going to eat? How are we going to survive without Dad? I think I saw that I as a child, didn't see my mom as the person who could provide for us, because she was staying at home. She didn't have a full-time job and that kind of thing. Obviously, she was providing for us in a lot of other ways, but I think that from an early age, that feeling of insecurity kind of stuck with me and really just made me motivated to be independent, to be independent and be able to have security around those types of things, your basic, living things you need to live. So, I think really it came from that, and just wanting to help women feel like they have that security and that sustainable employment. Again, not that we were destitute. My dad moved about 5 minutes away from us, but, just as a child, I think seeing that and feeling that, I didn't want someone else to have that feeling again.
Right. And it became, I guess, like you said, something that kept driving you. And when did the concept come to where, because that's a passion, that's your why. When did it kind of develop into saying, wait a minute, can I use that, my passion, to go into business?
So I was working at a church as the director of involvement. So I was helping people get involved in different or organizations in different ways, different things at the church. And doing that opened my eyes to a lot more ways to be involved and help women than I had even known about before. So, as I started getting involved in more and more things, I thought I really, really want to help women, but I don't have the capacity right now to be involved in a lot of these organizations that are going into, going into Charlotte and helping in different ways. It just wasn't something that I had the capacity for at the time, nor the training for, to be honest. So when I left the church in pursuit of a job back in the business world, I thought, somehow, I don't know how, but somehow I'm going to get these two ideas to come together. And one of the reasons why I did leave was to take this job at, as you mentioned, Torrent Consulting, which is a very purpose-driven company and doing business in a much different way than I had ever been exposed to. So after working there for the 5 years, seeing the company grow and seeing the purpose behind what that company was created for, and you can be in business and you can still help people, I really was hoping that I'd be able to do something in some way, shape, or form, but still not exactly sure what it was, and had kind of put the idea aside as maybe I'll eventually join, some kind of charitable organization or do some work, later on down the road. And really, I woke up out of a sound sleep one night with two ideas in my head: start a business and help women. And that was at the end of 2018. And a lot had happened in that year. A lot of stuff had happened in my life. And I think it kind of got me to that point of you start questioning what your legacy is going to be and who you want the world to remember you as. And so I was having a lot of those kind of internal conversations. And when I had this dream thought, I don't know what, I really thought, no, and that's not something I can do. But the more that I talked with some people about it and the more I thought about it, the more I realized it was something I had to do. It wasn't leaving me. And so that was really the beginning of me pursuing this idea of creating some kind of for-profit business that functions as a business in the business world, but still being able to help people at the same time.
Yeah. So you mentioned legacy, and that was kind of spurring you along to think about what can I leave behind? What am I going to be remembered for? Whatever. Is there someone in your life that you look back on and have built, or their legacy has kind of been put into your life?
Yeah. So, it's just that year, as I was mentioning, I lost both my parents that year within a 4-month span. And it was really having that happen so close to each other that my mom was a teacher, and she, at her funeral had all of these former students and some who had gone on to be teachers because of her, and her former parents and room parents, and all these people come, and just to see the legacy that she left. And then my dad's funeral was a lot of his business people, like people he had worked with and people that he had known for years, and he was their bosses, and they came through and they told funny stories and all. And I had always identified more with my dad than my mom. My parents have been divorced for years, and so and from the business perspective, because I don't have the teacher gene. I don't. And my mom was an amazing teacher, and my sister's a teacher, and she's really good at it, but just that just wasn't my thing. So business was my thing. So I always kind of identified with my dad, and I think it was having that happen so close to each other, losing both of them is so close to each other, and seeing that their legacies and what that meant for them after they were gone. I realized I'm an intersection of both of those people. And so with my mom, like, her legacy of helping people and help, these kids, and figuring out they want to be teachers because of her, and my dad with the business side and people coming who worked with him years ago telling funny stories about him, it really got me to thinking I'm not one or the other, and I'm both of these people. And it was really that, I think, that kind of helped me figure out probably what led me to have that dream in the first place, right? um, so, I think it was that, seeing that really helped me identify in my head that that was what was happening here.
So really, I guess both of them in and you maybe didn't see it much until, did you see it before their death, or did you just realize the impact of it after their death?
Yeah, probably I think a little bit with my dad, just because he was in computers, I was always in IT, so I think just a little bit with him, but really didn't realize the impact of it until after their death.
Right. And you can look back now and see that really they were teaching
Hmm.
all through life. You were learning, you were being a student, even though maybe didn't realize it, but until it all, until they're passing, but um, you were learning from their legacy was going on while they were living and you didn't even really know it.
Hmm. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So the next thing you talk about is that you spent 5 years working at Torrent Consulting. What did you do there?
Yeah, so I came on as a consultant in working with all different kinds of businesses to help them implement Salesforce.com. That's basically what we did, was Salesforce.com implementations. So I worked with them, and my big thing about going into, I hadn't been in consulting for a long time. Going back into consulting is I really did want to help people. And at the end of the day, that's what you are as a consultant. You're there to help people make their work lives better. So even though you're not always looked at like that, that is what you are there for. And then I became, kind of got into management, consulting manager as we grew, as the company grew, consulting manager. I was a customer director, so helped with some customer experience type things that we were doing. And then ended there as the technology and process director. So kind of back into the technology realm, which I had been in for a really long time, and working with process. But all along, I had the great fortune to work very closely with the founder of the company and CEO, Daniel McCollum, and really watch him model a company, creating this company, growing this company, having a really successful company whose vision and purpose wasn't just to make money, but it was, before making money, was to love and serve through business, and really modeled for me the way that this could happen.
Give me a little bit of example of that, rather than being out here. So you mentioned purpose driven company. That's what this was, a purpose driven company. What walk out what that kind of looks like in some real life examples, if you have
Yeah,
something.
sure. Yeah, sure. So one of the Torrent Consulting has 5 offices around the country, and 4 offices around the country, and 1 in Antigua, Guatemala. So the reason the Antigua office came to be was that the CEO wanted to create jobs in a place where there was a huge, huge pool of incredibly talented people, but not a lot of opportunities for them to stay in their hometowns, in their home countries, and to work in the industry they loved, which was technology. So what he did was the company started the office down in Antigua, Guatemala. He actually moved his whole family down there. They still live there, and started creating jobs for people in Guatemala, the same type of jobs that the offices here had. So it's not an offshore model. It's not a nearshore model. It is another one of their offices. And seeing that, and seeing the care and attention that was put into onboarding not just them, but everybody in the company, and doing everything equally, and having everybody have the same experience, and providing jobs in a community, and putting money back into a community that really didn't have any kind of technology jobs in Antigua, Guatemala before this. So seeing that, of course, didn't happen on day one. That happened after a couple of years in, but just seeing that vision come to life of providing those opportunities so that people who live in a place that, they have the talent, they've been to college, they have the degrees, they have the experience, but now they don't have to leave where they grew up, where their families live, in order to find a job in the industry that they love.
And it sounds like that was very influential in you maybe starting the virtual assistant.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And, one of the things that we had always done at Torrent is, because we had offices all around the country, we had a number of offices, always had since I started, we did everything virtually. I mean, we did go on site to some clients, but worked with our clients virtually. We met internally virtually, and we did everything through Zoom. So we would always be on video with each other, even if you were meeting somebody in your own, in the company, just in a different office. So really that did lead me to think like, why not? I mean, so many things. We're doing major consulting projects, implementation projects, just over Zoom and through video. So why not? Why can't we have this? And virtual assistance has grown a lot over the years, but it really is very possible to support small business owners and support CEOs in a really effective way, and not have to have the expense of having somebody in the office and, trying to come up with, especially now, right? But trying to come up with a space for them, equipment for them, all that kind of, everything that comes with having somebody that works in your office. So it really was, kind of both of those things that influenced that.
Yeah. And it's, for some people, some people are just experiencing this virtual world we're kind of introduced to or have been thrown into now because of COVID-19. And it's hard for some people to realize how and get adjusted to this virtual reality now of doing business. But for you, it's not unusual.
No, not at all. And, people talk about, I had my fourth Zoom call today, and we used to be on Zoom calls back to back for hours at a time. So it was such a way of life, or a way of doing your job for me, that, that it is kind of it's just how you do business.
Right. And so you said also that it was through this that you saw that the owners and other people were spending hours on tasks that could be done by somebody else. Tell me some things you were seeing.
Yeah, so not just seeing, but experiencing them myself, because I was on the executive team with those folks. So a lot of the things a lot of the documentation, we're all doing our own documents. We're all creating our own slides. We're all, managing our own calendars with the people who work for us, and making sure that, everything was balanced, scheduling our own travel, all of these types of tasks that seem like they don't take a lot of time, but really do take up, kind of eat away at chunks of your day. So it was a lot of these things that, were happening, that we were all doing ourselves. Meeting agendas, planning meetings, ordering food, those types of things. We just didn't have, they just didn't have a huge staff for that. So you just kind of did those things yourself. So as I was seeing all that, I thought, gosh, there's got to be another person that can take on some of these responsibilities and do it well, and free up the executive team for the more strategic work.
And I think, virtual assistant is kind of new to some people also. Mm-hmm. So you said some of your clients that you have, give me an example of, you don't have to name names or anything, but like a client you have and some of the things that they call you for, or do you have a schedule of things you do, or do they just automatically sometimes just pick up the phone and give you calls? How does that work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So typically what we do is, we'll have a kind of a kickoff initial meeting to start and talk through what types of tasks that, that they want me to do for them. And then what I'd like to do is meet with my clients at least once a week, or maybe once every other week, depending on what we have going on, but at least a couple times a month to talk through what the tasks are, that if they have anything else that is going to kind of be prioritized over the tasks we already have. But some of them, for the most part, they've identified some specific tasks that they want me to work on. For example, some light bookkeeping or order processing or email and calendar management, documentation. So there's some categories of things, if you will, that I'm doing for them. And then the weekly meeting might be calendar review, or here's some documents that we're going to need for a meeting coming up. Can you help us create them? So that's when we get into the more specific, week to week tasks. But typically they have some idea in mind of the type of help that they need. So it will kind of fit in the category. And that evolves too. So that might, might mean I take on somebody else in the organization who needs some help as well and start helping them with some of the same things. It might mean that we increase my services because, for example, one of my clients is a coffee roaster. And so his business during all the COVID-19 stuff really he really had to pivot in a big way from on-site being a coffee roaster who is mostly in businesses at offices to switching his business to be online, e-commerce. So, we went from me doing more customer kind of experience things for him to online order processing, because now he's got a ton of orders. So, there might be something like that will change, but I do like to be in touch with my customers enough that, we can anticipate some of the things coming and or make some changes pretty quickly.
Right. And I would think also that with your business, as you bring on a client or as a client starts working with you, it becomes a relational thing too, because after a period of time of you working with them and they see what you can do, you are talking about and giving suggestions, that there's more opportunity for you to take on more, or they see the need to give you more.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And part of that is trust, is building that, as you were saying, it's very relational. So building that trust with your client, that even if it's somebody that you've known personally for a long time and in a way outside of their business or your business, there's still a trust factor that has to happen when somebody turns part of their business over to you. So, part of that, I think, is sometimes people like to start small with something that they feel is not maybe a mission critical type thing, because they want to build that that relationship, but they want that trust. They want to know they can trust you with, if they can trust you with this part of their business, well, now maybe I'll give you some more responsibilities within my business and turn over more things to you. And I think that's really important to call out, because it's not, I don't think, an intentional thing that, like, I don't trust you with what you're doing or that you're going to do a good job. But I think it's just, as an entrepreneur, a small business owner, you're very used to doing everything on your own. And it is hard sometimes to give that up. And because your business is your baby. So, it's hard to give up a piece of that and have someone else taking care of even a part of that for you and be okay with that. So, I think that is part of building the relationship and building that foundation of trust, so that you can make your clients feel comfortable that you're going to take care of and love their baby as much as they do.
Yeah. You've said previously that you want to help women and you want to, I think this is a great platform to be able to do that. Do you have a particular skill set in mind of when to hire women to help do this, or who would you be looking for?
Yeah, so really the women that I'd be looking for is, as you mentioned, I help women that need some kind of sustainable employment. I would love to have them have some kind of office skill set, like a G Suite, skill set of G Suite, Microsoft Office, Excel, PowerPoint, those types of things. Even, not a ton of experience, but maybe they've gone to some training. So there's some really great job readiness programs in the area through community organizations. There's some really great training through community organizations within Charlotte, within the Lake Norman area, both, that I've been in contact with to talk to them about their job readiness programs and what types of things they can offer, so that when women are coming out of these programs, they will be ready to come and work for me, because they'll have the skills. They will learn some of the skills, as I mentioned, G Suite, Microsoft, just some general office organization, time management, those types of things that they will be learning in these job readiness programs, and then be ready to jump in. Of course, I'll have my own training and onboarding, that, you know, the way that we do things at WeAssist, that I will walk them through and mentor them through and all. But yeah, it'd be great to partner with some of these community organizations. And I'm really fortunate. I think that's going to be very possible.
Yeah. And I know that your heart is to help other women. And if there are other women out there that, you know, they're looking for some way to sustain life, to move forward, what kind of advice would you give them to help them to see that, or to be able to look outside of what they're in right now to maybe move forward?
Yeah, you know, I think that the biggest thing is to trust yourself. You know, I think that so many times, especially as women, we kind of have that imposter syndrome, right? Where we feel like everybody else knows what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing, and we don't know what we're going to do. We're going to be found out. You know, I think that you need to trust yourself and trust your instincts, and trust that you know what to do to get you in a situation where you're, you know, in a positive situation. So I think that's the first thing, is to trust yourself. And the second one may sound like it goes against this, but ask for help. You know, I think whether you're starting a business, or you're looking for a job, or you're working on your resume, I think there's so many people out there that are willing to help you, and either introduce you to somebody, help you with a resume, give you some advice. You know, I think that not being afraid to ask for help, because if you don't ask for help, nobody knows you need it. And until you until you get yourself out there and can be a little vulnerable doing that, you know, I think it can be a lonely place to be. So sometimes it's difficult, but I think that, you know, that's the only way that sometimes to move ahead, is with a little help from your friends. And, you know, it does work. I mean, it really works. And there's so many people that would love to help.
Yeah. What are some good books that you could recommend to women that maybe could help with this also?
You know, I think there's a couple of really good books right now around marketing, that, you know, as we are really, I mean, we've been into digital marketing now, but I think now more than ever, it's going to really explode. So Donald Miller has a couple of books. One's called Story Brand. Has a couple other words in the title, but basically Story Brand. And the other one is Marketing Made Simple. Those are some really, really good books. I've read a couple of other books that are more just on maybe more on the empowerment side of things. And one's called How to Be a Badass. If you want me to say that. And that was really a great book, and probably the one that got me started and gave me the kick in the pants I needed to really pursue this. And then another one is the 12-week year. So the 12-week year was really interesting in that it talks about goals, but it talks about really not setting like a year goal and working towards that every quarter. That basically every 12 weeks is a year. And at the end of 12 weeks, you know, set your goals every week that's getting you towards that 12-week mark. And then at the end of the 12-week, that's your goal. You've hit it or you haven't hit it. And there's a whole structure behind it and a whole, you know, theory behind it. And the book gives you some really good actionable items that, you know, some of these books you read and you're like, that was a great book. What do I do now? This book actually gives you some actionable items, gives you agendas. Like if you're going to have this meeting, then, you know, this is what you want to talk about. But it's the whole concept of, you know, things change so fast. Even, you know, at Torrent, like we did our quarterly plan, like we did our annual planning and we did our quarterly planning, because quarterly plans changed every quarter.
Right.
So it's really the concept of, don't do this quarterly planning towards a year, do this 12 weeks at a time, goals. So I thought that was really good because it helps, I think, especially if you're in a state of change, it really helps you focus in on a shorter amount of time. So that would
Is there
probably be
is there
another one.
is there something that keeps you focused?
Well, um, I think the things that keep me focused are the thought in my head that the reason I'm doing this is to help women. So, when I start to get either distracted by something like, oh, this is going to be a great thing. Maybe I should start looking at this. Maybe I should start doing this. And I think, no, the thing you're trying to do is create a business to help as many women as you can. So let's get back to what we're trying to do. Let's focus in on that and then take the steps to get there. So really in my business, that's really what keeps me focused. And in my personal life is probably worrying about my children because I'm a mom.
Right.
Like it keeps me focused on whatever those things are. But yeah, I think really just kind of keeping that vision in mind of where you want to be, and then just making sure everything you're doing in your day is helping you get there, whether it's doing your business, whether it's meeting people that, you could have the most random conversation with somebody thinking it's not going to have anything to do with, what you're trying to do. And then you end up being interviewed for a, Uncover series. I
Yeah.
think that there's so many opportunities out there to find somebody that in some way that you might not even know is going to kind of help you get to what you're trying to accomplish.
Right. Right. And before we finish today, I keep thinking back about the legacy, and I think we all want to leave a legacy behind, and we don't want it just to be after we're gone. So if you could think of right now what your legacy, what you want it to be, or what it is right now, what you want it to state for people, when they look at you and they go, wow, Jackie Benjamin is this, or Jackie Benjamin does this. What would you like for people to understand about your legacy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, there's a couple of things. I would like to be known for creating leaders. So, I think that whether it's my children or these women that, I will be hiring and bringing onto this organization, I want to grow them up as leaders. I want to, make some of them team leaders and lead these other women and create these kind of pods and teams that everybody will have an opportunity to, if they want it, to be a leader and lead some of these other people. And, so I think that creating leaders will be one of them. And I think the other piece will be instilling confidence in women so that they know their worth and that they are, that they have that, the strength inside of them to walk forward into whatever is their life may become and whatever their vision is.
Yeah. And I think that's incredible because, what I heard was that you want to, one, impact other people's lives so that they can make effective change in their life and what they're doing so that it impacts their family and changes the people around them.
Yep, exactly. And one of the vision for this company is to provide sustainable employment for women so they can change their lives.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Well, I don't have any doubt that you are going to fulfill what you want to do. And you are doing it now. So I'm super excited about it. I'm excited to, we'll touch base again at some point later and see how you've grown, see what's changed,
Yeah.
and it'll be exciting.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I'd love to do that.
Okay. Well, Jackie, thanks for today. And it was great having you on board, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks for your time. This was a pleasure. This was a
All
lot
right.
of fun to do. So thanks for
All
having
right.
me.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.
All right, thanks. You too.
Hey guys, thank you for sharing your time with me today on another episode of Uncover Lake Norman. And again, if you have any real estate needs, get in touch with me. I'll make it happen for you.